Hi there, you're tuned into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash. I am Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading. Thank you for being here today. And I would also like to thank my co-host, Chris Agelastos, for being here. Chris, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You're looking good, and we're ready to rock another episode of The Secret War on Cash, talking about the hot topic of BRICS. Well, actually, this is BRICS with a twist today. This is something, and we have kind of I think it was our last podcast that we were discussing BRICS. We were talking about one aspect, and I know it's come up, is that it's the European nations have been relatively quiet in terms of any participation or involvement. BRICS, which is this establishment, and I'm getting right into this, as you can tell. BRICS, which is this establishment or this movement that is really devoted or dedicated to dethroning the US dollar in this de-dollarization effort, which is, for those tuning in who you haven't been following, that's not a positive thing. They are looking to literally collapse the US dollar. That being said, we've talked about how what's going to happen when, they've already had a ton of countries, the first North American one being Cuba, who jumped on board. What happens if and when European nations decide to do so? And you've got to figure they're kind of on the sidelines watching. And at the end of the day, what would prompt them to do it is if they start seeing that what BRICS is doing and the changes they're making, which understand, is moving towards a new form of currency, a new medium of exchange, which they say will lessen their dollar dependency. In addition to that, it's going to help bolster their local currency and thus their local economy. So if these European nations start watching this, they're going to perhaps want to jump on board. A new twist, as I mentioned, is now they're citing this, and I hadn't heard of this, Chris. I'm not sure if you had or not,
Mhm.
but the SCO, the SCO. What is the SCO? So the title of the article, let's look at that first. After BRICS, new alliance to ditch the US dollar for trade. And I don't know about you, Chris, but when I first read this article and saw the headline, I was like, what are they talking about? Is BRICS is not a new alliance. I mean, BRICS, as we've talked about,
Right.
has technically been around since 2001. And now for a little over roughly 2 years, they've been gaining momentum and growing and building, et cetera. But this new alliance is, again, the SCO, which stands for, well, let's get to the second headline in the same article. After BRICS, the SCO alliance gets ready to end US dollar reliance. So the SCO is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And here's my point. This just speaks to the vulnerability of the US dollar, and B, the number of, we'll call them entities out there that basically have the dollar has a target on its back. And what's kind of, now, mind you, China is obviously part of BRICS, but you also
Yeah.
have like this, we'll call it a competing entity that is, it's aligning itself with BRICS and trying to rid itself of the US dollar as well, which the fact that they're already utilizing the dollar and they have the ability to do this just speaks to, again, the vulnerabilities out there, because it is yet someone else who has a pullback from the dollar that is not going to help the dollar's efforts in terms of building strength or growing. So,
Right.
with this being said, first off, were you familiar prior to this article with the SCO? Because it's the
Yeah.
first I had heard of it.
Yeah. I had heard of him before, but I had to dig into it a little bit, and I didn't realize actually China and India are both involved in this SCO, and they're actually it's a bunch of Eurasian countries that have sort of followed the BRICS model, and there are a few countries that are in BRICS that are also in the SCO. So it does make sense that they're probably going to kind of follow the model that BRICS has started here. You know, their goal also is to trade in local currencies, which they are also doing. And they're saying that until there is some new unified currency that they'll continue trading in each other's currencies for cross-border transactions and whatnot. So I think the fact that um, their biggest supporters are, you know, Russia and China and India. They're probably going to just follow suit. And I think what BRICS is trying to do is sort of slowly infiltrate a bunch of smaller nations and kind of bring a bunch of people on board quietly, even if it's through these other organizations. And then they'll have some point in time where, you know, they can all maybe join together, or even if they stay in their own different alliances, they'll total a lot more people. I mean, they already control, you know, somewhere around 45% of the nation's GD, or the world's GDP. So they're already big, don't get me wrong, but I think this is just a way for them to get deeper into these smaller communities and you know, find more support for de-dollarization.
Right. Well, and that's you know, if nothing else, it also speaks to the lack of favorability or regard that you know these countries have for the U.S. dollar, and like we've talked about, I mean, they've definitely been like on the receiving end of whatever the United States throws their way,
Right.
and quite frankly, they're sick of it. Not to mention, you know, look, if you're looking at the United States of America, we have a debt problem right now, a serious debt problem. I mean, as we've talked about just a few months ago, our national debt increased by 5% in 1 month. one
Yeah.
month. So, you know, when you start looking at, you know, having dollars or keeping assets that are denominated in dollars, when you have a nation that is certainly not in the driver's seat in terms of like being responsible with their finances, it speaks to the vulnerability there. And, you know, BRICS already, the nations that are involved in it, in terms of natural resources, they already control like 70% of the world's natural resources. So that's real
Yeah.
money. That's a real asset. The currency that we have, the debt that we issue here in the United States, comparatively speaking, is not so real and not so dependable if you know times get tough out there. And so, and in
Right.
fact, the second article, again, this is just starting to come out now. This actually came out before the first article, but SCO takes lead on payment system, targeting US dollar dominance.
Yeah.
And my concern with it is, Chris, look, w- nobody knows for sure what the future has in store. Everything that BRICS is proposing seems viable, number one. Number two, you know, the nations that are, you know, participating in this, it's not, and we've talked about this, it's not like something that they they're looking at this, they're saying, you know what, this makes sense actually. This is something that we should probably get involved in. And the reason being is like it's going to help their local economy. And
Right.
when you start looking at like the all these countries out there that are looking at this and saying this, the reality is it is a universal truth that they do not want this dependence or this reliance or this dominance of the US dollar plaguing their economy, plaguing their country anymore. And they're just again, it's the I guess the theme and what I'm getting at is they're all looking for a way out. Maybe this is it, maybe it's something else, but again, the SCO now taking the lead on this payment system, it just shows that, you know, if BRICS isn't doing it, they're figuring out their way of doing it. And you know, I don't see how. And again, we've talked about this. How do we stop this? In so much as that the United States that isn't even really weighing in on this issue or this problem. They're not looking at this as something that needs to be dealt with. When I believe they do, especially again, you know, when you have the growth that they're experiencing. So at the end of the day, is SCO, do you think SCO might be the one to do it, or do you think BRICS is going to be the one to do it? I mean, what are your thoughts in terms of the viability of this whole thing?
Well, I mean, you know, China is taking the lead in the SCO. So, you know, I don't think it would surprise anybody to know that China has the skill, the knowledge, the technology to be able to pull something like this off. So they are certainly very capable, you know, a capable group to be able to do something like this. And I really don't think there is any stopping it. You know, the reason that the dollar, or one of the big reasons, I guess I should say, the dollar has had such dominance is because countries used to clamor for our attention and to be able to use our currency because we had a great system and we were much more responsible with our dollar, especially after World War II. And so people looked up to that. Other nations wanted to be like us and have the success that we had, and that's what really caused the dollar to have such an impact on the globe. Well, after some decades of abuse and not making the best decisions, our politicians, that is, our dollar has been significantly weakened. So unless we can reverse that and make the dollar more appealing, at the end of the day, it is going to lose favor amongst these other nations. And whether it's the SCO or BRICS or some other organization to come up with an alternative, somebody will find an answer. And the only way we can change it is by fixing our dollar. And I don't want to say that it's impossible, because I'm sure it could be done, but there's a lot of damage that we're going to have to undo. And with everything going on in the world and in our country, even politically, I'm just not sure that we're really focused on the right things.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I have a strange feeling that, we've covered BRICS extensively. I have a strange feeling the SEO is something that's going to be coming up in future podcasts because if nothing else, I mean, with the amount of coverage that many different sources, articles, et cetera, that we have used in discussing BRICS, and then all of a sudden, this is the first that we've seen SCO being incorporated into this same BRICS discussion.
Yeah,
And again, like I say, I think it just speaks to the desire that these countries have to de-dollarize this world. And you have enough people talking about something like this long enough, and countries, excuse me, that possess the type of assets and resources and things that they do. You're looking at all the ingredients for something that's not just a pipe dream, but something that unfortunately might become soon a reality. And actually not a dream, but not only a reality, it'll become our nightmare in this country if it happens the way they're shaping this or forming this up to be. So
yeah.
anyway, well, Chris, how do people find out more about what they can do to maybe strengthen their own portfolio, diversify their portfolio, find out more about this problem? What could they do?
Yeah, reach out to us. The website is a great way for most people these days. That's SwissAmerica.com. Put in a request for information. One of our popular reports, The Secret War on Cash, is probably where I would start because it delves into a lot of these issues. You can also reach us at 1-800 289 2646 and request the information. If it's after hours, just leave it on our voicemail and we'll get it off to you the next day. But knowledge is power. The first step is really just to reach out, learn a little bit more. Let us educate you on what's going on and help you figure out what the solution might be for you and your family.
Fantastic. Well, for those of you tuning in, thank you for doing so. Look forward to talking to you more in the future. Subscribe to us if you have not already. And if nothing else, have a great rest of your day and a phenomenal rest of your week. Thanks so much. And Chris, thanks for being here.
Yep, take care.